Airports are designed for travel, but for some, they become scenes of crime and deception. In today's video, we uncover the audacious tactics used by those who thought they could outsmart security. From cunning disguises to nerve-wracking encounters, these are the 35 most suspicious drug mules caught by airport security. Get ready to witness the lengths some will go to in order to smuggle their secrets. Sometime in 2024, around 9:20 a.m., the CCTV control room at Sydney Airport in Australia spotted a man behaving strangely. As he got closer to the entry gate, he looked tense. He did not go straight to a customs officer with his visa. Instead, he waited behind a wall, almost as if he was trying to take his time.
Proceed straight up to a customs officer with his passport. He sort of hung around the back of the hall.
This caught the attention of the control room staff, who decided to bring him in for questioning.
Officers suspect that he's not telling them the truth and decide to take him aside for further questioning.
We questioned him a little bit further about what his plans were, what he wanted.
In the questioning room, they found kilos of chocolate and alcohol in his suitcase, not clothes or personal items. Authorities suspected him more due to his nervousness. The Australian government chose to look into it further because they had seen cases like this before.
What was in the boxes that we were smelling?
With the passenger claiming to have no knowledge of the items found, officers will now carry out testing on the contents of the pallets.
When they checked what he was actually carrying, they recovered over 3.6 kilograms of cocaine in 246 packages of chocolate candy. A suspicious incident took place at the airport when security caught a woman traveling from Vietnam to Australia with 4 children. During an X-ray scan, strange items were found in her suitcase. Her conduct appeared suspicious, despite her claim to be innocent.
They have concerns after an initial swab test of some food she is carrying returned a positive result for the prohibited substance.
Okay, so what we'll do...
The woman explained that her luggage only contained cosmetics, creams, shampoos, and some other products she had bought for a friend. However, something didn't seem right.
So, we're obviously going to have to test that, and my suspicion is that is and probably...
Officials found that the packages in her bag held a large amount of ephedrine worth $250,000 after testing them. The drugs were hidden inside sealed packages, which caught officers off guard.
As the container is emptied, it's immediately obvious that it's only half full of hair cream.
Okay, what appears that we've got here is...
They were hidden in such a way that it looked like it was done in a workshop and not as a homemade ploy. Luckily, the sensors picked it up, and the woman was turned over to the police. Everything was going smoothly at an Australian airport, until suddenly, it wasn't. Australian Customs stopped a pregnant woman after what seemed like a regular flight. They became suspicious because she had recently traveled to Nigeria and Ivory Coast, and the gaps in her travel history didn't add up. Her vague plans to stay in a hotel without knowing much about Australia raised further concerns.
Set plans while she was here.
Officers suspect they may be dealing with a possible drug courier.
She's been in Ivory Coast before here, and Nigeria.
Things became even more suspicious when her luggage was scanned. The X-ray showed some hidden items inside, which looked like they could be illegal.
And the image clearly shows 2 abnormal densities in the lining of the bag.
Judging by the X-ray image, we believe that there may be a concealment there.
After conducting some tests and inspecting the luggage, the officers found around 1.6 kilograms of methamphetamine, valued at approximately $2.3 million on the street.
Powder has been extracted.
A white crystal substance has actually come out of the side of the baggage.
This is taken to be tested with a machine that fires...
They turned her over to the police for investigation and deported her. At an airport in Australia, a young French MMA fighter became a suspect. Before arriving, he had visited Bali. This was his 4th trip to Australia in 2 years. His first visit was on a working holiday visa, but recently, he had been using tourist visas. Authorities questioned how he could afford these frequent trips, especially since he wasn't a professional fighter yet and was still training.
50 denominations, here we go.
1, 2, 3.
Officer Tim counts the lot, and it comes to a total of $75.
He had $7,500 cash in his suitcase. He said his parents supported his lifestyle, including his MMA kickboxing career, even though he didn't work.
Doing in Australia?
Yeah, training.
Training? What sort of training?
MMA.
What is MMA training?
It's mixed martial arts.
The officers inquired about his MMA social media presence, and while going through his phone, they came across a strange message that mentioned grams of something. They thought it might be drugs, but the man explained that it was just about smoking, not drugs.
Yvonne will now confront the passenger with the information they have found.
Who is Omar?
Omar?
Yes, who is Omar?
His visa was revoked after a while. Concerns about his honesty led the officials to send him back to France. He had been in Australia on a tourist visa for 5 months without doing anything. They also put a 3-year ban on his return to Australia. A tourist was stopped because it looked like his bag was leaking and a powdery material was seen coming from it. This happened when he tried to get his bag after the trip. During a brief X-ray check, something unusual was found in his luggage.
He also has a credit card with Derek's name on it.
So these are yours, but this is your friend's?
When asked about his backpack, things got even more suspicious. He said many of the items belonged to his friend Derek. Checking the bags verified this. He also carried Derek's credit card, which was shocking.
Large suitcase to check for traces of narcotics.
That's a positive for.
It's a strong.
Further testing revealed ephedrine in the package. They meticulously investigated the bag but found scant amounts of the drug, suggesting a mistake.
The X-ray image of the bag shows some unexplained organic material around the base.
Michael!
Although they had to let him go, he was closely monitored during his 3-day stay in Australia. After that, he returned to where he had come from. After getting off the plane, an Italian man went to customs for authorization before leaving the airport. Unfortunately, the customs agents found something odd in his suitcase.
It is taken to a secure examination room for further inspection, as the man insists he is simply here for a holiday.
He claimed that he had bought the bag that day and that it was empty when questioned. He presented a receipt to verify he bought the bag the day he traveled.
Say that there's possible indications that there could be blue, which means that the bag's been tampered with.
But the Italian owner insists it is brand new.
When the officers looked closer, they had to tear into the bag and found narcotics packaged in a black plastic bag. With this discovery, they had no choice but to immediately apprehend the man for further questioning.
Got a base of another bag and cut it out.
2 elderly couples were discovered with drugs at an Australian airport after their luggage was X-rayed. The couple's 4 heavy suitcases caught the customs inspector's attention during their 5-day holiday in Australia. Surprisingly, the couples arrived in Australia for their honeymoon, but despite carrying 4 enormous luggage, they didn't look happy.
4 large bags, and all the bags seem unusually heavy.
A swab has been taken from the lining of one of their suitcases to indicate...
The officers started a search and brought in a sniffer dog. If the dog sits down, it means it has detected the presence of narcotic substances in the luggage.
The packages are very dense in material. We're not sure what this substance is yet, but we're of the strong opinion that this is a concealment of one form.
The dog sat down and a machine identified a suspicious substance, so customs opened the package. Both the dog and the machine were right. Police arrested the pair and searched 3 additional suitcases. In another incident at the same airport, a middle-aged black man was stopped by customs officers after a sensor indicated he might be carrying illegal drugs. The officers didn't want to alarm anyone or cause a scene, so they discreetly asked him some questions at the customs desk, starting with whether he knew much about Australia before coming, but his replies seemed off.
Watched that show, Steve, and seen a lot of...
The show, the Steve? The crocodile guy?
Yeah, the crocodile guy. So I know...
After searching his bags and finding nothing, the officers suspected he might have ingested the drugs.
Can you tell me anything about Sydney that you know
About
of?
Sydney, they have the opera house.
Opera House, yep. The only one thing I don't understand is you said you've always wanted to come to Australia. The only thing you can mention to me is one.
They detained him, and 4 days later, he passed 46 pieces of concealed cocaine. The man admitted that he had been paid $4,000 to carry out the smuggling operation.
9 hours, Nelson passed 76 pellets wrapped in tape. The pellets contained high-grade worth $620.
An Asian woman arrived at an airport in Australia, and authorities became suspicious that she might be carrying illegal drugs in her luggage. Of all the things she could bring, she had fresh fish with her, planning to eat it in Australia. Due to concerns about environmental damage, Australia prohibits the importation of animal products, whether alive or dead.
This is the first time.
First time. Who cleaned the fish?
Vietnam.
My friend, uncle. Not you.
No.
When officers inspected the fish, they found something odd. The side-cut fish had its intestines within, suggesting tampering. She said someone gave her the fish, which raised the officers' suspicions.
Officers see objects inside the fish which appear to be the exact size and shape of pellets carriers used to carry internally.
After a careful inspection, they found packets of illegal drugs hidden inside the fish. The drugs were carefully wrapped to avoid detection. Once this was discovered, she was immediately arrested. At Sydney Airport, an Australian border security official questioned a man about his frequent trips to South America. The officer was curious because the man's passport was from Greece, yet he had traveled to South America many times. The man explained that he often visited his girlfriend and their young child who lived there. This seemed to satisfy the officer, though he remained cautious about the unusual travel pattern.
Answering all our questions, trying to be relaxed. Seems a little bit forced. He's very helpful in answering questions, and he seems to have a story all the time.
As the questioning went on, the man seemed to have his answers ready, almost like he had practiced them before. This made the officers suspect that he had prepared for this encounter in advance.
Can you bring back?
No.
With his story looking increasingly shaky, the results of the swab taken from the lining of his suitcase raised suspicions.
The officials searched the man's bags and body but found nothing. They suspected he might be hiding something inside and wanted to do a body scan. At this point, the man hesitated and tried to avoid the test. Sensing something was wrong, the officers called the police, and the man had no choice but to cooperate.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, they've rivet the rather screws.
Yeah, we usually don't screw them in.
Believing the bag may have been tampered,
The screening found hidden drugs in him. He was hospitalized for substance removal. The man admitted his guilt and was sentenced to 7 years in prison.
Took the passenger inside to a search room for further examination and also to test the white powdery substance. Yeah, that's from the back.
Australian border officials stopped a man at the airport because they suspected he had narcotics in his bag. A trained detection dog at the security checkpoint alerted the officers, making them take immediate action to investigate further.
Placed under arrest for alleged importation of into the United States.
The passenger was taken upstairs to HSI and for federal prosecution.
The man was stopped, questioned, and his bag was searched. Inside, they discovered a big amount of a strange substance. The results of the test showed that it was definitely cocaine.
Is that it? Try to make sure. Oh yeah, it's the same thing, look, you see?
Look, this is what they did.
At this Australian airport, officers were on high alert as a woman from Vietnam passed through security. The X-ray scans and sensors picked up something unusual, leading them to suspect she might be carrying an illegal substance.
item here. What we're going to do is this, test on the item, and it will tell us if there's or exploit.
When questioned, the woman seemed to have prepared answers for everything, but her story didn't quite add up. The officers felt that something was off.
It may be at this stage.
Further inspection of the item, which tested positive, reveals another concerning anomaly.
After further investigation, it was discovered that she was carrying around 6 grams of cocaine, worth millions of dollars, on the street. She was arrested, taken into custody, and later sentenced to 2 years in prison.
Okay, the samples come up as positive.
Secondary testing now confirms.
Australian security found a suspicious cylinder-shaped suitcase. A scan showed something hidden in the lining. As officers prepared to search, the man started acting nervously.
Just to have something concealed inside, in the base. I'm looking at this image. Yeah, it looks fairly thick.
There is a layer of dense organic material beneath.
The man quickly asked to call his wife. While the officers checked his bags, he insisted on making the call. As he talked, they realized he wasn't just calling his wife. He seemed to be contacting a travel partner, suggesting he wasn't alone in smuggling something illegal.
The bag came from raises suspicions even further.
The passenger also stated that he picked the bag up in Colombia. When his other bag...
Officials discovered another passenger with the same last name on the same flight. They searched the man's bags and found illegal drugs, leading to his immediate arrest.
Are usually in a powder form, but officers are confident that this well-concealed paste is an illicit substance.
It was in the...
When they inspected his wife's bags, they uncovered several kilos of cocaine. Both were then taken into custody, where they would face the consequences of their actions in court. When officers checked this woman's travel history, they noticed she had visited South America several times that year, along with a trip to Spain. Although she worked as a cleaner, they were curious about how she managed to spend $20,000.
She spent upwards of $20,000 on this trip, including the freight, her ticketing, about these machine parts, and she has little idea of what the machine...
The officers asked her why she was in Australia, and she responded that she was there to deliver or sell a machine to a company, hoping to make some money. However, things didn't add up when she couldn't remember the name of the company.
So we're going to put them through the X-ray and see if we can get some images and see if we can see if there's any concealments inside.
There are 10 machine bearings as the passenger...
The officers opened the metal machine and found a huge amount of methamphetamine, a very dangerous and illegal drug in Australia. The drugs were worth a lot of money, $16 million. The woman was quickly arrested.
Oh, it's pushing away. Woo! Hit the mother load. Good day's work. Well done, buddy.
Australian border officials at Sydney Airport became suspicious of an Estonian woman arriving from London. She said she was on a 16-day holiday, but her story didn't match up. She'd never been to Australia before, bought her ticket last minute, and was traveling alone. The final red flag was her luggage. One suitcase had personal items, but the other only contained 2 brand new backpacks.
Recent visa, so pretty much last minute. Not traveling with anyone today. The baggage officer noticed that she's a bit nervous.
When questioned, she insisted the backpacks weren't hers, they were for a friend. The officers weren't convinced. A swab test on one of the backpacks came back positive for cocaine. The woman grew visibly anxious, asking for a chair as if she might faint.
So the first backpack has
An X-ray confirmed their suspicions. Hidden compartments in the bags contained illegal substances. She was promptly taken into custody for further interrogation.
Both bags.
When I kept feeling inside, the lining and the layers inside the compartments, it was just different to other backpacks.
In May 2024, Australian border security officers were conducting a sweep to catch and expose illegal immigrants and any contraband they might be carrying. During their search, they found something unusual.
Officers are deconstructing goods to locate concealments of the illicit substance.
Bulk weight on this product is spot on 5 kilos.
Inside what looked like an ordinary table, they discovered a large package wrapped in black nylon. When they opened it, they found a significant amount of cocaine hidden inside.
Just for this one import alone, it's staggering amounts of money.
With sufficient intelligence gathered, Operation Exunia now moves.
This package weighed about 5.9 kilograms, and it was shocking to learn that the drugs were estimated to be worth around $450,000. After admitting to his crime, the accused individual was taken into custody.
Large amounts of currency or banking documents, electronic devices, anything to help prove the offence.
While the detector dog goes through the house,
Australian border security officers stopped a man who they suspected was carrying illegal substances. The man's passport showed that he had just returned from Vietnam. Inside his luggage, the officers found some Asian products that looked like herbal remedies.
Nothing of concern is found in the man's suitcase, so officers' attention turns to the blue plastic bag he's carrying.
The man seemed to realize he might get caught, so he pretended to be sick. Although he had some medicine in his luggage, it didn't seem like he was really ill. It looked more like he was faking it. At one point, while the officers were running tests, they suggested he take some of his medication, but he hesitated.
Even further.
We did an iron scan and the result is positive.
When the test results came back, the officers had to break open some of the products, and it became clear they contained drugs. Further testing confirmed that the products had ephedrine inside, which is a substance often used to make illegal drugs.
Inside is a white powder, so this then needs to be tested further.
The suspicious powder will now undergo secondary testing.
The passenger looked nervous, so officers watched him closely. His luggage raised red flags after an X-ray scan showed something suspicious. Officers also found it odd that he hadn't eaten after a long flight.
It's sauce. This one's open already.
When they checked his luggage, they found something strange inside. When asked what it was, he said that his brother had given it to him.
When I'm happy that there's nothing here of concern to us, then I can let you go.
But this passenger won't be going anywhere just yet.
It turned out to be another case of catching a drug mule at the airport. He had to face justice after the officers found drugs in his possession and took him into custody.
Do the frisk here, or would you like to go to a private room? Okay, no worries, he's here.
A frisk search will check for any concealments on his body. Meanwhile,
when this man arrived at the checkpoint, he appeared shaky and nervous. At the customs desk, the officers asked him to open his luggage for inspection. He seemed a bit sweaty and panicked as he did so. The officers checked his bags but didn't find anything at first. However, he struggled to repack his luggage, which made the officers even more suspicious.
for his nervousness is because there may be a in his suitcase, but the case is now empty, and as it's put through the X-ray...
While he was repacking, the officers decided to take a closer look. This time they... Do I love it by the sensors that he has drugs on him?
All clear, and the passenger can't repack it fast enough. But officers aren't completely satisfied just yet.
The man was taken into custody for further examination, and the officers used a warrant to pinpoint exactly where the narcotics were hidden. He will most likely face court soon.
A second swab is taken, this time from the man's backpack, and if it's positive, they'll have to step up the investigation.
An American traveler from Los Angeles was stopped and questioned by customs officers because his recent travels seemed suspicious. Before his flight to the U.S., He had visited a South American country. He claimed that it was just a stopover on the way, but his travel history showed otherwise. He had actually stayed there for a while. This raised red flags for the officers.
Would you like a chair? Or
The chair would be nice if that's possible.
we can get that, yeah, okay.
Officers are concerned that the man's nervous behaviour could be an indication that he is carrying.
The man began to panic, looking nervous and disheveled, which only made the officers more suspicious. When they couldn't find anything unusual in his luggage, they decided to question him further. Under pressure, he finally confessed that he was carrying drugs inside his body.
So I'm going to ask you straight up now, have you got any in your bags or on your person?
Not in my bag.
Okay, on your person?
You did.
That was an admission?
Things got tense after his confession. Though he admitted to smuggling drugs, he was reluctant to cooperate fully with the officers as they explained the procedures for safely removing the narcotics from his body.
It's a positive reaction from the detector dog.
So, mate, you're right to take a seat, mate.
The passenger's health now becomes a top.
A traveler from New Zealand approached the customs desk with an unusual calmness that caught the officer's attention. Most people seemed a bit nervous in these situations, but this man appeared completely relaxed. As his luggage passed through inspection without any issues, the officer noticed something odd.
Doesn't mean there's nothing in there, but yeah, nothing at the moment.
The first swab test was negative, but after...
The man's bags were filled with carefully wrapped items, which made the officer suspicious. Curious, the officer decided to take a closer look. Hidden deep within the luggage were wrapped packages with a street value of $1,500,000.
And layers of plastic. A swab is taken, and this test result is what the officers expected.
This is the end result of the NIC test.
The traveler's calm attitude quickly vanished when he realized the serious trouble he was in. He was immediately detained for further investigation and now faces serious charges.
Sample of the substance in the bottom of this, and as you can see by the colour, green means which is what's here, and that's as green as you're going to get.
This man knew he was in trouble as he arrived back in Australia. He was living in Australia but took a short trip to Thailand. Despite it being a brief trip, his luggage was unusually heavy, which made the officer on duty suspicious. So they decided to unpack his bags to find out why he was so anxious.
He's become very nervous, he's sweating, he's unable to construct sentences, he's unable to give us answers to the questions. He appears very, very nervous.
Would you like some more water?
During the search, they found around 25 boxes of different medicines. When asked about it, the man explained that he was helping a doctor he knew. He claimed that he bought the medicines to sell them back to the doctor without making any profit. But as they continued searching, they discovered more unusual items.
Everything seems to be $100 or $150. That's a lot of trouble.
But the thing is,
for $100 or $150.
Yeah, but you assume me to sell just like per tablet, but I don't sell per tablets anyway.
Inside one of the boxes, they found some bottles of mouthwash. Some of the bottles were normal, but others had a strange color. The man admitted that he had mixed urine with the mouthwash. When they asked who the mouthwash was for, he said it was for a friend named Zach. However, they couldn't find any contact information for Zach on his phone, and the man couldn't provide any other details about him.
You bring 40-odd litres of liquid.
That's for the cleaning company anyway.
His bizarre claim that he's carrying an unusually large number of mouthwash bottles for...
Altogether, the illegal contraband he was carrying added up to about 35 liters. The man was arrested and sentenced to 4 years and 6 months in prison. As the man told his story at the border desk, Officer Natalie's intuition intensified. An innocent talk about a Vietnam vacation rapidly became a tangle of paradoxes.
This? Is it yours?
Yeah, that's mine.
What's not yours? The food?
Yeah, it was...
Natalie questioned whether he owned something. He claimed it was his, but when she asked about the food, he hesitated and stated that a friend put it there.
Who put this in there?
My friend.
Your friend. Do you know what's in here? The rest?
Natalie suspected something was up, so she asked if his friend had packed everything, even his clothes. The man anxiously confirmed, but each question increased his uncertainty. Natalie requested a drug detection dog due to his anxiousness. Everyone tensed up as the dog sniffed the pastries. After pausing, the dog sat down, signaling.
Call in a drug detector dog. If he smells drugs, the dog will sit.
When the man realized he was caught, gave up. The authorities took him into custody and handed him over to the police, who began questioning him and started their investigation.
The man is taken to a private interview room, and officers conduct secondary tests to confirm the swab results.
The global trade of tobacco, especially the movement of tobacco products from China, has a big impact on the international tobacco market. One day, at an airport, a Chinese man carrying a bag seemed very nervous. As his bag was about to go through the X-ray scanner, the officer noticed something unusual on the screen.
The X-ray today, and I can see that we already need to open up his bags and have a look. There's a lot of organic material here. Brought our attention that he keeps moving his water bottle around.
The man's anxiety grew as the officer became suspicious. The officer then asked the man some questions, noticing that he was starting to panic. As the officer began questioning the man about the contents of his bag, the man seemed distracted and kept trying to take a phone call.
No phone, no phone, no phone, no phone. Sir, no telephone.
After some time, the man finally cooperated, and it was discovered that he was trying to smuggle tobacco into Australia from China.
Oh, wow. In the water bottle, he's got concealment of seeds. This is why when this gentleman presented to us today, he was very, very protected of the water bottle.
Smuggling from Nigeria is a serious issue as well. On October 21st, 2023, a well-known businessman was caught involved in drug trafficking while traveling from Abuja, Nigeria, to Hong Kong.
What do you do for a living? You're a businessman. Where is your business office? What kind of items do you deal on?
At the airport, X-ray scanners showed something suspicious on the 40-year-old man. However, when security searched him, they couldn't find anything, so they decided to detain him. This man was originally a seller of motor vehicle parts in Aba, Nigeria. A few days later, while in custody, the man excreted 49 pellets of cocaine and heroin. The Drug Law Enforcement Agency quickly arrested him, and he was then handed over to the police for further investigation and to face justice.
What exclusion? How many pellets did you excrete? On this one now? Yes. 14. Please, can you count them?
A surprising incident occurred at a Nigerian airport when officers from the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, caught a woman trying to smuggle a large amount of drugs out of the country. The woman had cleverly hidden the drugs inside her wig, a method that shocked both the authorities and the public. It showed just how far some people are willing to go to avoid getting caught. This successful operation by the NDLEA demonstrates their strong dedication to fighting drug trafficking and keeping the country safe. In a video recorded on a smartphone, a Nigerian NDLEA officer is seen questioning a man who was caught with hard drugs. The man had planned to take the drugs with him on a business trip to Vietnam before he was arrested.
What is it? Okay. Where are you traveling to?
When the officers found cocaine in his possession, the man admitted that he was guilty. He explained that he had only done it to gather enough money to start a business for his wife. However, the law doesn't consider a person's intentions. If you're caught with hard drugs and plan to traffic them, you will face the consequences, regardless of the reason behind your actions. In another case, a Nigerian businessman heading to Paris was arrested at Abuja Airport in a dramatic drug bust. Security officials caught him after discovering through careful screening that he had swallowed 111 wraps of cocaine. This risky attempt to smuggle such a large amount of drugs shows the serious challenges law enforcement faces in the battle against drug trafficking. As the investigation continues, authorities will be looking to find out where the cocaine came from and if anyone else was involved. Freeman Charles Ogbonna, a man who was trying to fly from Lagos to Delhi, was arrested at Murtala Muhammad International Airport for swallowing 80 wraps of cocaine. While waiting for his flight at the checkpoint, Ogbonna started showing signs that something was wrong. At that moment, the officials took him into custody. Almost immediately, he started vomiting and passing the drug-filled wraps one after another. Over the next 4 days, he slowly managed to get all of the wraps out of his body. Ogbonna explained that he had been promised N$300,000, which is about $230 in US dollars at the time, to deliver the drugs. He had swallowed them at a hotel in Ikeja, hoping to make it through the airport without being caught. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, in Nigeria, was on high alert at Lagos Airport. Their officers were focused on a suspicious man, carefully watching him as they gathered information. The man appeared nervous and was sweating, trying hard to blend in with the crowd, but the officers never took their eyes off him. Later, after intense questioning, he finally admitted that he had swallowed 90 pellets filled with cocaine. He was visibly shaken as he confessed, knowing the gravity of what he had done. The officers kept a close watch on him, making sure he stayed under constant observation. It wasn't until he was in their custody for a while that the dangerous drugs were expelled from his body, one by one. The officers made sure every single pellet was safely recovered. On this day, while Nigeria's airport officials were sniffing out shadows in suitcases, they apprehended a suspect at Lagos Airport. Using the X-ray scanner, they discovered that the suspect had swallowed the drugs before his journey.
You have gone for excursion. Have you gone for excursion? Is this the first or second excursion?
A video that has since been widely shared shows the suspect admitting to his crimes. After being caught, the trafficker excreted 90 pellets of cocaine while in custody. In a desperate attempt to avoid severe punishment, the man claimed that this was his first time committing such a crime, hoping the authorities would be more lenient. The Drug Law Enforcement Agency in Nigeria intercepted a businessman from Spain who was caught trying to smuggle heroin at Abuja Airport. The man, named Sharif Egbo Ali, had swallowed 93 pellets of heroin in an attempt to hide them.
Ali Sharif, what do you do for a living? Where do you work?
He was planning to board an Air France flight to Paris on October 21, 2023, but was stopped by the authorities before he could get on the plane. Initially claiming to be a factory worker at a chicken slaughterhouse in Spain, Ali's cover was blown when a body scan revealed suspicious objects in his stomach.
How much? 3,000 what? 3,000 US.
Despite a clean initial search, the agency maintained its suspicions and detained the suspect. After several hours under observation, Ali excreted 93 pellets of heroin, weighing a total of 2.222 kilograms.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
The Hajj is a sacred Islamic pilgrimage to Mecca, meant to be a time for spiritual renewal and a deeper connection with one's faith. Unfortunately, in recent years, there have been growing reports of people attempting to misuse this holy journey to carry out illegal activities. On June 5, 2024, officers from the NDLEA in Lagos, Nigeria, arrested 4 people who were preparing to go on the Hajj in Saudi Arabia.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 17.
The officers learned that these people were consuming wrapped pellets to carry cocaine before flying to the Holy Land. In this video, 2 suspects counted their pellet intake.
81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100.
In total, 200 pellets of cocaine, weighing 2.20 kilograms, were found in the 2 rooms where the suspects had been staying. On May 10, 2023, at Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, 2 Nigerian businessmen, Ono Ebere and Christian Ifeanyi Ogbuji, were pulled aside by NDLEA officers after disembarking from an Ethiopian Airlines flight.
Where were you coming from? From Ghana. Which flight did you board?
Tension hung in the air as the men were led into a dimly lit interrogation room. There, under intense questioning, the truth began to unravel.
Pick 6 of it. So I put it open to know the kind of drug it is that it contains. You have said this is cocaine, but we are not sure. We'll have to test to see what it's all about.
The men shifted uncomfortably as they revealed their grim secret. Each had swallowed dozens of cocaine pellets. Over the following hours, Ebere excreted 100 pellets, weighing 2.14 kilograms, while Ogbuji expelled 93 pellets, weighing 1.99 kilograms. Their business facades crumbled as they confessed that drug trafficking had been their true livelihood, with Lagos as their final destination.
What's the nature of business you do?
In a remarkable act of vigilance, agents of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, intercepted a well-known drug trafficker at Lagos Airport, Nigeria. This suspect had just been released after serving a 7-year prison sentence in Ethiopia for a similar crime. Despite this, he was caught again, attempting to smuggle 5.90 kilograms of cocaine into the country. The drugs were cleverly hidden inside cans of deodorant and tubes of lip gloss, demonstrating the lengths to which drug trafficking networks will go.